It won't be easy. You'll think it's strange when I try.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for being here for another interesting edition of Deborah Kobylt Live. In studio with me right now is the man who you directed or choreographed Madonna, correct, in Evita?
I choreographed Madonna in the film Evita, yes.
Wow. Among other things, you have a list this long. I've been looking, I said, what do I focus on with you, Vincent Paterson? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for asking me.
I'm just honored to have you here. You're a writer, you're a director, you're a choreographer. You worked with Michael Jackson.
Many years.
Many years. I want to hear about that. You worked with Madonna. You've worked with so many of the greats. Perhaps one of your greatest, though. You were a zombie in the Thriller. Come on. I mean, if I were a zombie in the Thriller video, that would be it. I would have, that's it. I would have made it.
Oh, yes.
Right?
I was a zombie. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom.
That is so cool, right? So you put yourself in there. You said, Michael, I gotta do something here. How did that happen?
Well, I had first auditioned to be in the Beat It video, and I was got that role, and I played the white gang leader in the Beat It video, and then I auditioned for Thriller, and Michael remembered me as well as did the choreographer, Michael Peters, and they hired me to be a zombie, and on that project I assistant choreographed as well. So
That's just one of the greats. I mean, the moves in that. Gosh, I mean, I want to get into so much with you. You're also very philanthropic. You work on many charities. One in particular, our friend's charity, and next Thursday, not tomorrow, but next Thursday, it's called Ava's Heart. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Ava Kaufman is a dear friend of mine. She was a dancer for many years, and she developed a heart problem, and she is a tiny woman, and she blew up to twice her size almost, and she was on the operating table. She died, and thank heavens, a young boy died as well, a teenager. She got his heart, and she's well, and this is 9 years later, and she told God that should she survive, that she wanted to dedicate her life to helping people who needed transplants. So she created this organization called Ava's Heart, and it is to provide financial assistance to people who are at the top of the transplant list who have to be in LA to, unfortunately, wait for someone to pass so they can get that heart, but they need
Housing.
Housing, they need food sometimes, they need transportation. These are not wealthy people, and Ava does everything she can to help them and make their lives work. And
She's an outstanding person. You are helping to, if you will, choreograph the entire evening, hosted by Larry King, may I say.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what you're doing for the event. Where is it? What are you doing for it?
Well, I directed it last year for the first time. This is the third year. I directed it last year. I try to do things a little different because there's so many of these, events that happen in Los Angeles, and I try to make it a little more interesting. And having directed incredible people and tours for Madonna and Michael, I have a little bit of experience in making evenings kind of interesting. So I'm
a good dancer.
Good. Maybe I'll have you up there dancing, girl.
I'm real good. I mean, I just had knee surgery, but keep going.
Oh, so when Mr. King said that he would host, I decided to do an evening with Larry King, and I'm setting it up like a Larry King late night talk show.
It's kind of cool because you're also honoring a person in the news as well,
Yeah.
and you've got a bunch of news people who are going to be there. The entire theme is just going to be so fun. So I applaud you for doing that.
Thank
And what's interesting about Ava Kaufman is she didn't even know. I believe she passed out, and when she woke up, she was told she had a heart. It's like, what? It's not like she was waiting.
Yeah.
She's a lucky woman.
Very fortunate.
And I do love that she is now giving back just like she promised.
Oh my gosh, totally.
No, she lives this day and night.
Yeah, absolutely, she does.
Where's it going to be, and how can people donate?
It's going to be at the Taglian Center, the
fun.
Taglian Complex on Vine Street in Hollywood. It's next Thursday evening. There's a delicious dinner that's served, and then the show, and you'll be in at 7 and you're out by 10.
But it's
So-
fun, especially because you're choreographing it.
No, I'm not choreographing, and
Well, sort
I'm
of.
directing it. We have
But you
some.
have to choreograph the whole thing.
Yes,
anyway.
I put the whole
director's
thing
like a
together.
choreographer,
Yeah, it's true. There's a very
of.
thin line between the
think
two.
so.
Yeah, but we have some great local talent, local musicians that are going to perform, and we have Darren Hayes from Australia, who was the lead singer for Savage Garden, sold 35 million albums, and he's
amazing.
going to be singing for us, and so it's going to be a really entertaining evening.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Let's get into a little bit of your life.
Ooh.
How did you start in this business? What kind of kid were you? That's what I always like to know. Like, where'd you grow up? What kind of kid were you? Did you always choreograph stuff at home?
Yeah, I grew up in a very small town near oil refineries along the Delaware River outside of Philadelphia.
Remember, I told you I know where that is.
I know you
I'm like
did.
probably the only person who knows who's probably been there.
You probably
And Kaylee.
Yeah. Oh.
She's from
okay.
Pennsylvania.
So I was the eldest of 5 and the eldest of all the grandchildren, and we didn't have very much money, and we had a very small home, and I was creative and did theater in junior high school and high school, and it was a way to kind of escape the craziness of living in a house that was tiny with so many people, 5 kids in the family. My parents, my mom's only 19 years older than me. I mean, it was...
Wow.
Yeah. So
Ooh, they were
that's...
having a little fun in the house.
Well,
Wow.
sometimes it
She
was
was
fun. It
young.
was tough. We were pretty poor, and it was difficult. But I always aspired to be in the entertainment business somehow. I didn't know what that meant. I knew I was an artist, but I wasn't sure what that meant.
It's so hard. We were talking before the cameras were rolling. When you're an artist, sometimes you don't know what kind of an artist you are.
Right.
You're a kid and you're trying to find your way. Sometimes if you know that you want to be in math and be an accountant or a bookkeeper, that may be a little bit easier for someone, maybe not. But when you're an artist, sometimes it takes years just to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
And you struggle and you ask questions, and it's just tough.
Yeah, absolutely.
So after small town Pennsylvania, where'd you go?
Well, I'm so fortunate. I'm sort of a guy who got to live what used to be called the American dream when that was a possibility, coming from nothing. And I studied hard in high school to be able to go to college. I did it all on financial aid and scholarships. We had no money. I created the first theater major at a school called Dickinson College in central Pennsylvania, incredible school. I went on from there to Arizona for a little while. I started studying dance at 24, which was very late
So
for
you're
a
in
dancer.
Tucson doing that, right?
I was in Tucson. I was sort of in transit to California, and I stopped in Tucson and fell in love with the desert. So I stayed there for
neat.
4 years. Yeah.
So you've sort of honed your craft a little bit in Tucson, right?
I began my dancing career in Tucson. Yeah.
And then you made your way to LA.
And I came to LA, and I struggled and struggled and struggled for about 9 months, and got my first little gig. Was just about ready to give it all up, and a choreographer called while I was taking a class from some friends, Bill and Jackie Landrum, and said he was looking for one more guy for a TV show with Dick Van Dyke. And he asked if he could come and watch me in class, and I said, "Please, Mr. Bennett, come and watch me in class."
Wow.
He did. Called me out, gave me my first job, and then it just continued and rolled and rolled and rolled to where I am today.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you noticed the common thread. You didn't give up. You didn't.
Absolutely.
And even when you were in Dickinson College, you created something that wasn't there. There's always a common thread with people. You can't give up. And if it's not there and you're in a place that you don't even want to be, create it. Find a way to create it. And if nobody will let you, then get out of there and just keep going. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree. You have to believe in yourself, but you have to listen to those people that you love and who you trust so that you keep a perspective. If it just becomes all about you and what you want, it doesn't always work that way. You have to be flexible. You have to be a little bit flexible to find out really, maybe you think this is the way you're going to go, but if you keep concentrating and focusing and working hard and listen to people I think that you love, then you can find your path. And then once you're on it, just go for the ride and pick the things that make you happy, the things that you think that you'll do a good job with and that you think that you can be successful with and help other people at the same time.
So you were a dancer.
Mm-hmm.
How did you end up becoming a choreographer? What was the big break?
Well, I didn't really want to be a choreographer. I wanted to go right into directing again, which is what I studied in college. But the problem was in Los Angeles and the electronic media, it's very hard for people, especially at that time in the late 80s, to see a dancer as a director. It was obvious path was to go from being a dancer to a choreographer and then to be a director. So I did this circuitous route, which turned out to be phenomenal. I'm so grateful for the career I've had and the amazing people I've had the opportunity to play with and collaborate with. And so I went from actor to dancer to choreographer to director and writer. So.
You've worked with so many well-known names. Can you just rattle them off for me? And then I'm going to ask you about a couple in particular.
God.
Oh, come on.
Where do I start? Michael Jackson, Madonna, all three of the Beatles, not John Lennon. Oh my gosh, Björk, great directors, Hal Prince, Mike Nichols, Steven Spielberg, Lars von Trier. Oh my gosh, I could go on and on. Joe Pytka, one of the most respected commercial directors in the world. I must have done 200 some commercials with him over the time, which then included Ray Charles and every musical star you can possibly think of, and sports stars. So I've had an incredible life.
Which sports stars?
Oh my gosh, where do I start?
Wow.
Oh, my mind's just racing right now.
Yeah, but that's...
Basketball players, baseball players, doing Pepsi commercials, doing Nike commercials, Charles Barkley. On and on and on.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm in the presence of greatness. There is no doubt
you're
about
not.
it.
You're in the presence of a workhorse.
Well, greatness, you can't be one without the other. You don't just sit back once that happens. You keep going, right?
Yeah.
You have to keep going.
Yeah.
Got to ask about two of my favorites because I have to. I was devastated when Michael Jackson died. Absolutely devastated. Yeah. And I covered that story where he passed away. I was so sad. Yeah. What was he like to work with? What was he like as a person?
Well, I write a lot about it in my book, but just to kind
Gotta get to that too.
Encapsulate it, a genius, really.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people throw that term around, but just a fascinating man, the kindest celebrity I've ever met in my life. Never said an unkind word to anybody ever, no matter what they were involved with in his career. He was always sweet. He was always complimentary, and a hard worker like you cannot believe. He deserved all of the accolades that he received, but a troubled man, so troubled because I believe it was because he was so insulated from an early age and didn't really know what it was like to be out there and exist in the world, and after a while developed a fear about it,
Yeah, and stayed inside, and it's there's always a story behind when someone appears to have, not that he went off the rails, but people would look at, he would put himself, with a mask and his little kids. And I have a big heart for people. And I always say, but imagine what he's going through. To the point where
I'll tell you a really brief little story
Please.
that kind of encapsulates what you're talking about. We were working on Black or White, and then I was leaving one day.
One of my favorites, yeah.
Thanks. And he said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm going to a party." "Hey, you want to come along, Mike?" And he said, "No, I've never been to a party." I said, "What do you mean you've never been to a party?" He said, "Well, I've never really been to a party with real people. I've been to promotional parties and things like this, but not for real."
Just an entity.
And I said, "Well, it's just dancers. Come on." And he said, "No, but you know what? Maybe the next time there's a party, I could come with you and hide behind the curtains and watch what people do at a party, and then that would make me feel more comfortable." Now, does that break your heart?
It actually breaks my heart a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. A kind soul, a talented man. And what breaks my heart more is when people take advantage even more, because he was vulnerable.
Yeah,
and
very
what's worse
vulnerable.
is when people take advantage and poke fun. It makes me so angry.
Yeah.
But wow, so you were in Thriller and you were one of the zombies. Was that like one of the big thrills of your career? No pun intended. No?
No.
Oh, would have been mine.
That was just fun. That was really fun.
How did you learn to do like that thing? Can you show me? How did you learn to be that monster thing? I swear to God, I used to practice it. I'd be like, how do they do that?
The bizarre thing of the whole thing, most bizarre situation was sitting there as a young person and having this makeup put on your face. And by the time you're done, you see what you're not only going to look like when you're dead, but after you've been dead for a long time. And that was really, really bizarre.
But it's got to be easier because it's not Vincent anymore.
Right.
You're some monster and you can just do anything.
Yes.
Right?
You're absolutely right, Deborah.
So cool.
Yeah.
Madonna. Let's get to her. Oh, God.
I
Truth
love
or Dare
Madonna.
you worked on. I love her, too. There was one thing that she did that just turned me off to her a little bit. Her sex book.
Oh, yeah. I
It's just,
remember.
it's like, enough. I've seen the body plenty of times. It's nice, but please. I get what she was doing. She's trying to push the envelope. But
Yeah.
in my opinion, I love you, Madonna, but
Yeah.
it pushed it a little too much for me.
Yeah.
But I came back. So
Yeah, well,
her
you know-
talent is huge.
Incredible.
Oh,
And she really opened the door for women in such a huge way,
kidding?
you know, to step into the entertainment business and to be, you know, women still have a great way to go. We
Oh,
have
yeah.
a great way to go to accept women as equals in this society. But Madonna did so much to make that happen. And she was really at the forefront of the AIDS revolution and
Yes, she
making
was.
people aware of that and how difficult it was and how many people were dying. And she was really sincere and put herself on the line doing that. And she did an incredible job. Talk
You
about
know,
philanthropic.
You
know?
need a celebrity to expose what's really going on
Oh,
there.
yeah.
A lot of people say, "Oh, what do they know? They're doing it for themselves." No, they're not. Most of the people I know who get involved in a charity, they really are interested. I mean, Madonna and Liz Taylor, Elton John, they really put a face to AIDS.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And now look where we are
Yeah.
with AIDS, right? I believe it can be controlled, right? The HIV virus.
Absolutely.
And thank God for the awareness. But her talent, what does she like to work with?
Well, you know, very different than Michael.
I know she's on time a lot. Ooh.
Well, very different than Michael. Michael was, you know, he would call you to do something. You'd come in and you would create something, and then you'd work with him. And he very rarely said, "I don't like that." You know, with Madonna, it was a little bit different. She would want to see what you created first, and then she would say, "Okay, let's do it." But with Michael, it was like, "Okay, you're here, so I'm going to do whatever you do." With Madonna, it was always a little playful. But I loved her. She was a damn hard worker, and we did some incredible things together.
I have to ask, because I don't know how one creates something like that, like with Vogue, or even in her early days, like a Virgin. Like, is it her idea that she's just sitting there and says, "Oh, I'm going to throw on a wedding dress and just roll around on a stage"? Or does somebody is that choreographed?
It depends, you know.
With somebody like Madonna, let's say.
Yeah, well, you know, she had called me to create the Blonde Ambition tour for her, so I choreographed it and I directed it with her. And you know, I would come in with ideas and she would 99% go with it. But what happened is we would inspire each other. For instance,
Right,
like with-
creatives love to creative process with other creatives.
the cone bras, for instance, you know,
Oh.
I had this idea to do this
I want
crazy
one.
thing on this big bed, and
Oh.
and I wanted these two dancers to have tree limbs, you know, at the top like they were
I
bedposts.
saw the tour twice.
Oh, well, she came in, so she got excited about it, and she came in the next day with these cone bras, and she said, "Look what I found." And Gautier had given her these cone bras, and she said, "I've never done anything with them." And I said, "Throw those tree limbs away. We're going to use the cone bras." So that's how we would inspire each other.
Isn't
and
that fun?
oh my gosh,
So
it was
much-
so much fun.
And that's so much of the creative process.
Yeah.
You can't even plan it sometimes.
Yeah.
Madonna brings in the bra. You see a potentially great thing to put on stage, and now we've got the cone bras in Madonna's Blonde Ambition tour. I love it.
Oh, thanks.
Oh my gosh,
Thank
I
you.
love that.
Yeah.
But I know that she really has a strong personality. I notice with women, they'll call it a strong personality, but she just knows what she wants, the girl, right?
Yeah.
That's
She's
it.
had to fight for everything, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was at a time when, you know, when I first met her, there were a lot of women. We don't remember this now, but there was Paula Abdul, there was Janet Jackson, there was Sade. There were so many people that were
Cindy.
Janet Jackson neck and neck with Madonna, and it
Cyndi
was
Lauper, remember that?
and Cyndi Lauper,
Yeah.
and it was really the Blonde Ambition tour that like escalated her way up above everybody
those
else.
bras.
And the bras, and her bravery for doing a show like that.
So you
we
work-
really changed the face of pop tours. Nobody had ever done anything that was theatrical in that way. But coming from my background, that was kind of all I knew. You know.
Background in theater. You choreographed Kiss of the Spider Woman with Cheetah Rivera.
Yeah.
You were nominated for a Tony for that.
Mm-hmm.
Hal Prince directed it. So you've done lots of theater as well. So
Yeah.
you've done live performances, theater. Tell me about that. Well, that is a live performance, the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love the theater. That was my background, and that's my biggest love. I mean,
Mm.
I've been so fortunate to do all these things through the electronic media, but you know, when it comes back down to it, my heart is most drawn to the theater.
Because no two nights are the same.
That's exactly right.
You may have the same line, and you're maybe blocked to stand in the same place, but your audience is different, right? And how you feed it. You could see that I've done a little bit. I'm not a very good actress, but I love the whole process, and I love theater, and I love talented people like you. But right, no two nights.
It always has to be fresh, and that's exciting. You never know what's going to happen. You can't edit. You cannot edit out something that doesn't work like you can with film. No, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you're also an author. I mean, is there anything you don't do, Vincent Paterson?
Yeah, a lot of things I don't do. I like to cook, though. I'm a really good
You're
cook.
a good cook. Have you jumped out of a plane? I mean, what have you not done? Are you going to tell me you did that too? I mean,
I've never jumped out of a plane, and I have no interest in doing that.
my husband did.
Oh.
I'll tell you that, when we see you at the charity event next
good.
year. He really did.
Oh, my God.
Just to challenge himself. And I'm
Not
like,
me.
Are you an idiot? And he was a young kid.
Oh.
Anyway, your book,
My book.
Icons and Instincts.
Yeah.
It's an autobiography.
Yeah.
Right? However, it's published only in French. This is bugging me. I don't speak French, and I certainly don't read it. How can we get a hold of it and translate it?
Well, what happened was a dear friend of mine who lives in Paris had invited me to speak for a weekend all about Michael Jackson in Lyon. And I was talking to him about the fact that I had written an autobiography, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And he had just written an encyclopedia on Michael Jackson's music and said, well, I have a great publisher for you with Hachette Livre in Paris. So
How romantic.
I know. So
Your first novel is in Paris.
well, je ne parle pas le français and je n'écris pas le français, but I don't speak it and I don't really write it. So, but I wrote the book in English. So this incredible publisher named Flavie was interested. She asked me to send a couple chapters. I did. She said, send me the book. I did. It wasn't edited yet. She fell in love with it and said, we want to publish it. So I co-wrote it with a friend named Amy Tofty, and who's a really wonderful writer. And I had never written anything before, and she helped guide me through the process. And but it was based on my journals. Every time I would go away to do a project, I missed all my friends and family, and I would create these journals and send them to everybody.
Please get it published in English.
I want it published in English.
But you wrote it in English. Just
I
get
know.
it self-publish it or something.
Well, I can't at the moment. I have to see what happens with it. It's #1 on Amazon France for 2 weeks now. Just came out on the 5th. And
wow.
Yeah, in dance arts
How cool
genre.
is that? And you don't even speak French.
Seulement un peu, only a little.
Beaucoup? You can see I don't speak any, so...
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? Do you remember that one from Patti LaBelle?
Wait, say that again? I used to say it differently.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? Will you sleep with
Voulez-vous
me?
coucher... Oh.
Avec moi, right. Ce soir, tonight.
Sure.
Go, Deborah.
I like that. So you speak a little bit.
Just a little.
Just enough to get you through.
Well, my husband's French-Canadian, and French is his first language, so...
So he was able to help you a little bit with the editing and...
It was fantastic. I was able to give him the French book when it came back, before they published it, of course, and he was able to tell me, no, this is not exactly the way you want it translated, so it was an incredible help. Yeah.
You said your husband, you've been married 5 years.
Been married 5, together 10, and he's a musician, and he'll be performing also at Ava's event.
I can't wait to meet him.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
Bring him over. I know you're going to be busy that night, but I really want to meet him. I
He's
like to meet
a wonderful man.
my people's people,
He's great.
But you say that you're big into women's rights. We also need to keep going with gay and lesbian rights and... just all people that have been, if you will, somewhat persecuted over the years.
Well, not only that,
women, people of color. I mean, who set the standard anyway?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm into some things that are really important at this stage of my life. I'm part of another organization called Dream a World, which is funded by a wonderful woman named Bunny Hull. And she has put together a collective of women who go into elementary schools in the poorest sections of Los Angeles for kids from kindergarten to 3rd grade with 12-week sessions teaching them the arts. Singing, dancing, theater, and how to play instruments. It's absolutely phenomenal. And I also took, I'm into the environment, and whether people believe in global warming or not, I mean, living in LA all these years and seeing what's happened from when I lived here with the smog to what we have now, you have to see how things have changed.
How they've evolved. And
it
without
has really
environmentalists
evolved.
And people who care, we'd still be choking under that smog.
Absolutely.
I'm with you.
Well,
I'm with
this
you.
little pin that I have, I took a former Vice President Al Gore's climate reality project training. And it just informs you about what's going on and how you can get out there and do something, even on a grassroots level. And I've been very active about trying to rid our neighborhood of gas-powered lawn leaf blowers, as well as plastic straws. These are, people don't even realize that the problem with plastic straws, three quick things.
Pisses me off. I
Well,
want you to know.
They never
it's so
decompose.
easy.
They never decompose. It takes one plastic straw over 400 million years to decompose.
And people, I was with someone, and she said, well, you recycle. I said, people are not recycling a plastic straw.
You can't recycle.
And recycling, that's a whole nother issue. I mean, this whole plastic situation, I mean, there's more of a mountain of plastic than you could possibly use for recycling.
Absolutely.
It's a problem. I'm with you on the straws. You can develop nice, hard paper straws that do not decompose in your mouth.
Absolutely.
Am I right?
Absolutely.
I'm with you. It's very, very simple. If you don't want to be a diehard environmentalist, just do something
Little
small.
simple things.
Little.
Simple things to make
Turn
your
the
life
water off
better.
instead of letting it run and going to the refrigerator. Turn it off just a little bit.
Listen, from the time we were little, we didn't even realize that these were environmental things. But my mom would always say, "Don't let that water run while you're brushing your teeth."
That's because you and I grew up with nothing, right? When you grow
exactly.
up, I still turn off the lights every time I have such a huge electric bill. I got to figure this out. I was talking about it with my guest last week. And he said, turning a light off or two isn't going to do it. I said, well, it's not going to hurt.
Yeah.
Any little thing that I can do?
Every little thing we can do helps.
Yeah, I mean,
Makes the world healthier for us, our children, and our friends, our family, and the rest of the people in the world. So.
Here's the loaded question. What are you most proud of? You can give me 1, 2, or 3 if you want.
I'm most proud of the fact that I followed my heart in my life. I'm in this business. You hear more no's than you hear yeses, no matter how successful you are. You're always auditioning. And I'm just proud that having come from where I came, having a mother who loved me and supported me greatly, and having dear friends all my life, that I trusted myself and I believed in myself and that I kept going. And that's my number one pride. I think that things have fallen into place because I'm a nice man. I'm an honest creator. I'm an honest artist. I don't bullshit people. And I tell them the truth about what I think, and they respect me for that.
You're a great collaborator is what you are.
I
mean, just
am a
by
great
hearing what you've done
collaborator.
with some of the truly great ones out there, and you've worked with so many, you collaborate. You don't insist, and a lot of people, it has to be their way. And I think when you know enough to just hear what other people's vision, and you have yours, and then you create. I love that, and I like the big takeaway for me is when you hear no, because it hurts. I'm one of those. I'm very sensitive, and if I hear that, I go, oh. but then about a day or two passes, and I'm like, I don't think so, and then I get up again and I try again, because otherwise, forget it. Otherwise we'll be that bookkeeper that my parents told me to be.
Exactly.
I'm like, no, I don't want to be that bookkeeper. No. And then finally they realized, I think she's meant to do something else. So
Good for you. Good for you. And look at what you're doing.
I've got Vincent Paterson on the show. Thank you so much. I had such a great time. Did you enjoy coming here? Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
I know
for
how busy you
inviting
are.
me.
Just doing Ava's Heart on Thursday is a monumental project. This woman is not even sleeping. I mean, she's giving it her all. It's going to be a fun night, right?
It's going to be a great night.
I'm excited because I get to interview some of the
Very
people who
exciting.
have been through all this.
Oh my God, it's going to be incredible.
And that's what I'm looking forward to telling their story.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I love that. I love to tell people's stories. You wonder sometimes as you go through life, what's your gift? And I would think, I don't even know if I have one.
What are you talking about?
No, hang on. And then I thought, mine is I like to tell people's stories, but really tell them, what got them there. So we all have something, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to doing that.
Thank you.
Anything else you'd like to tell us? I mean, your life in a half an hour, that was pretty good.
No, I'm just grateful. I'm a grateful man. I'm a happy man. I'm grateful that you invited me to be here and to share some of my stories too.
And you're an author? But please get that in English because I want to read it.
Listen. I may ask you to be part of my little team to talk to the people in France about pushing that. So
the journal. I just have to say one parting thing. The journaling is a big deal. My son is studying archaeology, and he's got some. When you're an archaeologist, sometimes you're in some very remote areas, and he called me and he goes, and I said, you know what, write write what you're feeling, write what you're thinking, because when you come back and you come home from this truly isolated area where you're doing research, you're going to remember your thoughts.
Absolutely.
And the people, because, you know, things were going through his mind, like if he got bitten too much by mosquitoes, he was suddenly worrying. I said, just write about it. And when you
Write
come home,
about it, yes.
you just never know what that'll turn into. You know, just share it with other people. So,
Yeah, for me, it turned into a book.
and now it's a book.
Who knew?
And now
Who
it's a
knew?
book. Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure talking to you,
Thank
Vincent
you.
Paterson.
Thank you.
And I'll see you Thursday.
Great.
And please donate to Ava's Heart at avasheart.org, correct?
avasheart.org.
And just keep doing what you love. Thanks for being here, everybody, for Deborah Kobylt Live. See you next time.